All right, so at this point in the process, I am going to create my two shades of a color. So I'm gonna use the lighter color as the base, which just happens to be my pure color. And I'm gonna add smidgens of the black into my pure color, okay? It will deepen it ever so slightly. So I'm gonna add just smidgens of the black to the red. If I were to do it opposite, I would be adding so much red to this black, wasting paint. All kinds of badness. And so we just want to make sure that we are controlling the color we're mixing and not wasting any of our supplies. So I'm going to use my my small round brush. I'm going to grab a smidgen of that black, okay, and I'm going to mix it into this red, okay. Now, before I apply it, I'm going to mix it until it's thoroughly mixed. So if it looks streaky and awesome, just keep mixing. And before I apply it, full on apply it, I'm gonna test blob it, okay? So right now, this to me looks a little bit darker than that, but I'm going to go back and add one more smidgen of black, just so that it looks enough different that if it were to dry, sometimes it lightens a little bit when it dries, that it dries a little bit darker, okay? So I'm gonna add another smidgen real quick. You may be good with your one. I'm gonna mix it thoroughly. Okay, until it's no longer swirly and awesome. Okay, test blob it again. Yeah, that's perfect, okay? And then I'll go ahead and apply it using my flat. Now, if you have a shape that has all kinds of like really small awkward places and spaces, feel free to use your smidgen brush to apply as well. I may do that towards that edge right there. I'm gonna hold the paintbrush by the grippy. I'm going to apply it. You'll also notice that I'm applying these kind of in color order, so you figure out what color order is in your design, all right? Particularly if your design is not sequential, kind of like mine. At this point, I don't feel comfortable getting in there with that brush, so I'm going to pick up my small range sorry, I forgot the word, small range round brush, just to get into that small area right there. Boom. All right, looking pretty good. Now that last section, this last one, I can be very generous with my with the dark color. So to continue to make this shade of a color darker, I can basically add a glob to it. Okay, so I don't necessarily have to smidgenify it anymore because these all look darker. So I'm gonna add kind of a glob of black using my smidgen brush for that last one. I'm gonna mix it up. Again, make sure you mix it until it goes past that swirly awesome state. And then, aha, so this is kind of looking good. Vampire blood. Mwahaha. Okay, so yep, so that's looking a lot different than the one before it. If I wanted to go back and add another smidgen, I totally could. Okay, so that's an option. I am going to, real quick, since I have this on my brush right now, do these really small points. Okay, holding this by the grippy. Any small awkward points or places and spaces I can use that brush for. There we go. I'll rinse, blot this. If you don't blot, sometimes you get a lot of water in your paint. It turns bubbly and then kind of an issue. There we go. Check that out. Okay, applying it right there. Looks beautiful. Okay, now at this point in time, here is what I would do. I would completely wash out my brushes, my water cup, my palette, and you at this point would get me to refill your palette with the next color. Okay, so that next color, you would put that in your design. You would just make sure you're going in color order. Okay, off your color wheel, you would choose a direction. In fact, let's make it clockwise. Okay, so you're gonna make it clockwise, and the next set of colors are gonna go here. Okay, for tints and shades of, like, let's say, I don't know, orange or something like that. Okay, so you're just gonna make sure that you end up going in color order, and the same process applies. Okay, you're gonna go in sequential order. Lightest tint, darkest tint, pure color, lightest shade, darkest shade. Okay, mixing exactly as I showed you here.